This is gonna be a shorter experience here because I have less than an hour before I need to go about my day. But I decided to document it anyway because I'm going to take a risk today. And I like the idea of taking a risk. I don't consider miniature painting to be a place where you take a lot of risks necessarily. And so this is good for me. Because one of the main virtues of the miniature gaming side of it is the way that it teaches you to take risks. But the painting side is much more conservative and careful. And here we have a Walker that's turning out pretty good. I mean, I like the way he looks. But there's a problem, and that's that I got this in a bit of speculative, I'm afraid to admit meta chasing, because this guy is supposed to sit on a table next to this guy, right? And so if it was just this guy, I think it would be going in the right direction with this, and I would work on the base and some weathering and stuff like that. But when he sits next to this guy, they're two different colors. Normally that's fine. Normally it's okay for them to be two different colors. But I really need this to look like they both came from the same group. So, and the next step that I'm going to do to this Walker is going to darken it down even further. So I have to find a way to raise the whole light value of this guy. Why is that risky? Well, because one of the things I'm going to have to do that is going to be tantamount to starting over, because we are going to use this guy. We're going to use a little bit of this. I'm going to see if I can globally lighten the model. Those of you who use these tools are probably panicking right now. Because I'm about to do something very stupid. So, let's see how this goes. Let's test it first on the legs. They're a little more forgiving. That'd be a little risky behavior. You know, in game theory, you find risk as the decisions we make, or the thing that affects decisions when we know what the stakes are, right? So we want to make a distinction between risk and uncertainty. Where uncertainty is where we can't define the parameters of what could go wrong. Risk, we know, right? I know what my options are here for ways that this could backfire. I know what I might be about to do to my model. If even one of these sprays goes wrong, and I know more or less what the probability is I'm going to mess it up is. So this is definitely one of those areas of risk. It's like when you're deciding to check your phone while driving, which you shouldn't do. But you know how it could go wrong. You know what the probabilities are. That's what we're doing here. I know exactly all the ways this could go wrong. But I will say, so far, it's working. We're globally lightening the color without losing any detail yet. Not as much of that to be seen, but still, you have to work. We are definitely getting there. All right, let's compare that to our reference Walker. We are getting there. Look at that. I'd say that's pretty close. So now, come on then. Lighten up the important part, the difficult part. This is looking more like this. And so, we take another risk. I think this feels riskier because this is a $50 model. When I take a risk on one stormtrooper. You know, it's not as worrying. But the nice thing about this is, all I'm really risking is my time, because it would not be that hard to start this walker over. Just lose a few days of progress. In the grand scheme of things, that's not too bad. Also, and here's where the whole risk formula breaks down a little bit, is I enjoy the process itself here. I mean, sometimes, just for the heck of it, I'll strip down my miniatures and start over. Not necessarily because I have some great reason for doing so sometimes, although I'll make up one, right? But I just enjoy the process of making some of them, so, you know, maybe I don't even know what I'm risking. That's the real peril of using any of our tools and analyzing rational actors, because maybe we don't know what they're actually after. That is pretty close. That is pretty close. The only problem is that I used a different type of gray for some of the base coats on this one. So at the end of the day, when you look really close, there will still be some subtle differences. I'm okay with subtle differences. They're both supposed to look old and weathered, right? So like subtle differences are okay. It's major differences in color that are gonna annoy me. Rational actors, you know, we have to be able to define what they value, and maybe we don't know. You know, this is strange. I'm actually going to script the wrong one here. Just trying to smooth out some of these levels, because I also painted him quite a while ago. There are some levels here that can use some smooth enough. Talk about risk, painting the wrong model. Alright, well, let's see where that leaves us then. We're looking pretty close. There's still a fundamental difference in the grays. This one has a green base, this one has a blue base, I think is what's going on here. Finish out this spray real fast. Anyway, you know, risk is it's a pretty fundamental part of life. I think one of the main values of weird little hobbies like this is that it gives us a format for exploring with different risk paradigms, you know. This is I can play around with what it feels like to take risks here when I'm not actually taking risks, right? But the ideal would be that prepares me for taking real risks in my life, you know. Sort of like the value of the games themselves is to prepare me for making real tough choices in life. That's the value of taking tough games. It's a way that they emulate decision making, force hard choices. Oh, I forgot I didn't paint this little guy, little mortar launcher. That's kind of annoying because I just cleaned my airbrush. So he needs to look like this. But maybe it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'll just do that with a normal brush. So I'll stress out about it. Yeah, now I got two walkers. They're getting close to the same color now. And obviously there's still more to be done with the other walker. So I might be back here taking more risks again in the near future. Let's see. The last thing I wanted to do here is because I wanted to paint some of the finicky details in the walking part. I actually wouldn't mind doing that to both of my walkers. So let's put them both up here, and I'm going to very quickly mix up a oil. So I guess I'll just do that here. I was going to cut, but you know what? Why? We can do that here as well. Okay, so here's my nasty little oil receptacle. This is the part where this air filter is critical, because these are the paints that really scramble with your head, turns out. And from my experience, the dangerous part is in the dilutant, the paint thinner. Don't love breathing paint thinner. It's one of the other things we learned. A different kind of risk now. All right, so I have one brush that I only use for oil paints. It's kept its shape so far, and I don't know. You just have to clean them differently under oil painting. Now I bought a set of oil paints that it was very cheap, because all I really do with oil paints right now is make washes, and you don't need the high quality stuff for washes, turns out. I might be wrong about that. I'm open to the possibility that I'm wrong, but it doesn't feel like I am at the moment because these have been working fine for me. Okay, so the steps for making this work is I'm gonna dab a little bit of this here. Let's see. I'm gonna search around for one of my pets. This one will work fine. I've been using it for the water, but it's okay. We'll open our little box of Fumi chemicals. Grab just a little bit. Squirt it in there. Grab, let's see, a little bit more. And you know, a more competent artist would probably be measuring right now. But I've found that the ratios you have to maintain for a wash are not that complicated. You just squirt until it looks right. Alright, so I'll take my oil dedicated brush, get some of that globby stuff on there. Mix it in with the, let's see what we get. And what's that consistency look like? So right now I've got a very thin wash, and I know because I rub it up there and I watch it trickle. See that little glob of paint on my brush? That's how I regulate, because I don't always mix it all in. And I rub it off on the side when I don't want it yet. Not a scientific process here. Okay, that is almost right. Okay, now let's see what we can do here. So, take another risk. I'm just gonna first just dab it on the side here. I don't know if you can see the. Yeah, let me get this where you can see it. This is the fun part. Okay. Let's move this chicken walker closer. All right. So the cool thing about these oil washes is that they stain the surface a little bit less than a acrylic wash. And they flow into the recesses a little bit better. So for example, if you look at the markings, the greeblings along that leg, if I wanted to accentuate them, I would just touch the oil wash there, and it adds shadow and depth to all the details. It just comes out. And it slightly darkens the model itself, but it doesn't actually change much about the paint job I did earlier. Which is why I've started doing this as one of the later steps normally when I'm painting now. So I'm just going to take this down along there. Yeah, as I said, this does darken the model a little bit, but not as much as if we did acrylic. And the really cool thing about the oil paints, if I don't like it, just grab one of these guys, and I can dab off. And it takes like something like 4 hours in my experience to really start affecting the color with one of these. So, this is a very low risk way of changing a model. Don't need that guy. So we're talking about different risk levels. Well, the reason why I didn't mind just throwing this on at the end of the process is because I consider this to be a less risky part. All it does is pull out some details and darkens. And if it was bad, I could pull it off. And here's the other crazy thing, is if it hasn't completely set or dried, I can even, if I really didn't like what had happened, I could even put some of the paint thinner on it to try and reactivate it and pull it off. Now, I don't know if that's technically what's happening, but in my experience, it's possible. So I may be using the wrong words, but there's something there that makes painting with oils very forgiving, especially if you've already put a layer of acrylics down. I don't know. Maybe oil and water don't mix. I've heard that. Maybe now I have some evidence. Anyway, I don't even know if you can tell the differences there on the camera. They're there. If you were here in person, you could definitely see that something is a little bit different about this walker. Maybe you couldn't put your finger on what it was, but you'd know that something had improved. What it's really doing, you know, all miniature painting is illusion, right? It's all working in optical illusion. Because we want to take something that's small and make it look big. And here, okay, let's do something a little unorthodox or something. I've always wanted to try this with oils. I didn't know if it works or not. I want to dab a little bit on here to make it look like a carbon stain. A little bit there, see that? Oh, yeah. Look at that. Don't we love that? Alright, so let's put him back, and then let's get the Elder Walker. Well, he's a couple years old. Let's see if we can add some of these details to him too, because he deserves some love. Now, he has actually had acrylic staining happening before. You can tell because there's uneven coloring and some of that, you know, where the acrylic stain tinted. But I want him to look kind of like his younger brother. I'm just gonna put some dibbles and dabbles of oils on him as well. Not much. I'm not gonna overdo it. It's gonna be subtle. I'm probably the only one who's gonna notice and appreciate it on the battlefield. Need that. But it's all about uniformity because we are the Empire. And uniformity is an important part of the theme of what makes the Empire the Empire. I've already tried to do some staining there on the side. You can see I did that with the expert techniques before. But I'm doing it with the oils now. I'm really getting a lot of nastiness going on there. Yeah. Soak in some detail. By the way, this oil right here, this is my secret sauce for Stormtrooper painting. Just paint them in white, and then a few black details here and there, and then you make a thin oil wash and you just go to town on them. And then any areas you want to look nice, dab with your Q-tip. It's so satisfying. I enjoy the process of doing that with Stormtroopers even more than having Stormtroopers. So yes, I did once strip down Stormtroopers who didn't need it just to try out more different oil techniques because it really is satisfying to use the oil washes on trooper models for some reason. Okay, that's probably good for now. So I don't want to breathe fumes. I really don't. I mean, I really don't enjoy breathing oil fumes. So we put our makeshift cap. Oh, shit, I just dumped all my Q-tips in there. Look at that. What a waste. Oh well. Oh well. That is funny. Anyway, I was using my lid to store my Q-tips. I didn't notice. Okay, there we go. Well, that'll absorb up the oil faster. Make the cleanup easier. Huh. Okay, so we might need to buy some Q-tips. Anyway, we got our walkers now. The other thing I wanted to do, you probably noticed that one I gave a blue base. This is what I've started doing with my snow bases. I started putting down a blue layer first. I guess it's not blue, it's a cyan. Maybe, something like I've been putting those down first, but the reason is that I'm gonna put snow down on them. And I use this textured paint. I use texture paint for this. And there's no scientific process to this. I'm just gonna squirt a little bit out there like toothpaste. And then just kind of scooch it around. And the idea is that there will be some places where the blue will sort of show through a little bit, and it adds a depth to the snow. Because I only recently figured this out, but snow's blue. You think it's white because it's all piled up and the effect is really subtle, but I think snow itself is a little bit blue because ice is blue. I don't know, maybe I'm losing my mind. But the more I look at it, the more I think there's something blue going on. And I always like to splash details onto the feet, because something about clean feet in snow just never looks right. If you've ever walked in snow, you understand. It's not quite right. Now, right now, it looks ugly because of the way I'm dabbing it on. I will clean that up later. It will look fine. But nobody ever walks in snow with clean feet. Even our big imperial walkers. It's just not how snow works. So, you know, it started on accident, of course, like everyone. When I was painting my first snow bases many years ago, I didn't have steady hands. I was shaking as I tried to, put it on. And I got snow on the feet of the models. And at first I was frustrated and I tried to clean it off. And later, I looked at it and I realized that the ones where I'd messed up the feet looked better, looked more real than the ones where I hadn't messed up the feet. By the way, the reason I use this texture paint is because I can kind of pile it on a little bit, and it creates the illusion, not even illusion, it creates the reality of drifts. So I get more than I need, and I just kind of slop it all over, and it really does look better than just painting the texture itself. And you have to be careful that your slops and sloshes look like the result of wind and weather, not a brush. You can also do this with a gloved finger. Anyway, so what I'm gonna let this dry, and then tomorrow I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna add white around the edges of the base and things like that. But you can't probably see it too clearly right now, but the fact that there's blue underneath it, it just creates a better looking white texture than what I used to do, which is evident on the other walker. The other thing is I will splash a little more snow on other parts of the walker. I might even add some icicles if I can find some bottled clay or something. But now we have two walkers that more or less match.